Hey, good to
Hello.
see you.
It's good to see you. Good to
Sorry,
see
we're running a few minutes late here, but yeah. Well, let me let Walt get. Okay, you're just going to go back there. You're not going to do anything else. Okay, good. Well, first of all, I want to welcome you to the campfire chats, and glad we could have you in here. Now we're talking to Neal Litherland, the author of a really fun new book called Marked Territory, which some of us have called a cross between a Watership Down and the Maltese Falcon. And yes, that is a thing. So, Neal, tell us a little bit about Marked Territory, if you would please.
Sure. The short version, for those who are not really sure how those two classic films will merge together, is it takes the standard noir mystery where the heavy gets involved in somebody else's business and he really doesn't want to be there, but it's a cat. You can't just let the mystery go. You got to find out what's going on. And so we just sort of follow Leo through the streets of New York as our big Maine Coon lead as he sticks his nose into some problems going on the south side of the Bronx. He helps out a couple of street beasts, is his term for them, of a bunch of squatters who they don't really have anyone who can fight for them. They're not entirely sure what to do, and he finds out that this whole it's really a territorial dispute, and it goes way deeper than anyone expects, which was honestly really challenging writing a stakes like that when animals don't have pockets or money to put in them. So trying to figure
Well,
out.
you barely notice anything missing. It is a lot of fun to read. Just a real page turner. And I lost a lot of sleep reading, and I got to tell you. Well, now the question is, where did this idea come from?
I actually have an origin story for this one,
Oh, cool.
as opposed to some of my stuff where it's like I was laying there in bed one night and then I woke up with a weird dream. No, I had a friend of mine, and she had come to me and she wanted to try her hand at being a writer. So I was like, cool, I will start you off the same way that I started off. So let's go and find who's looking for short stories right now. Let's find an anthology.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if you can find a theme, stick to a word count, complete a story. If you can do that, you're on your way. Even if you don't get chosen, those are really the skills you need. And so we found it was From a Cat's View was the name of the anthology. Robin Praetor was the editor. I cannot remember the company that published it off the top of my head. It's still out there if anyone wants like a prequel for Leo's Adventures. But so I sat down and I sort of workshopped with her what her idea was, and she had kind of a fun idea of a cat who had been trapped by a hoarder, and so it was trying to get out.
Mm.
And so after a couple of hours of talking over her story, I went to another friend of mine who heard about it and was like, "Oh, this is a really cool idea I've got." And he had an idea for like a cat who was a wizard's familiar, who had to go and find where his master had screwed up something in a ritual and get him out of like a dragon's. I don't remember where he was going with it. But by the time I had workshopped these two separate stories with them, I'm sitting here going, "Crap! Now I have an idea."
Don't you hate it?
And so I was like, "Well, I've got nothing to do for the next 3 weeks. Let's throw this together and get it out there." And they picked it up. And everybody, and I got a couple of copies of the book and I brought them to, I believe it was WindyCon was the first one I brought them to. Mm-hmm. And people were like, "What is this about?" And I got as far as these are all short stories about cats before they threw money at me and demanded a copy.
Right.
And so I was like, well, people like cats. I guess I'm going to write cat books now.
There you go. Absolutely. No, you're totally right. I learned that long ago as a dog writer that cats sell much better. So way to go. Absolutely.
I'll have to write a book about Doc now and we can compare the sales.
Sure. There you go. There you go. No, Leo is such a great character. Now, are we going to see more of Leo?
Well, yeah, if it's not divulging any secrets, I am, as of today, about 56,000 words into his sequel.
Woohoo!
So hopefully I'll be able to slide this one over to you guys in the near future and you can take a look at it and see if the lightning
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would be I would take offense if we didn't. Like I said, we all love Leo. And in fact, I'm having trouble getting Walt to not get a Maine Coon now.
They're adorable. I highly recommend them.
Oh, they're great. They're great, great, great. I know there are a number of writers who actually do have Maine Coons, and they are wonderful, wonderful cats. Unfortunately, we have dogs, and our dogs aren't really cat friendly, unfortunately, but such is life.
They are big enough that it's an issue.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Now, your history in writing does not involve just science fiction and fantasy. I believe you're a game writer as well.
Oh, yes, I have done. I think at this point I sat down with it, and excluding subgenres, I have written at least one story of every major genre, and I do a lot of tabletop RPGs.
Very good, very good. Well, I imagine our gamers will probably want to look those. What titles would you send them to?
Oh, a lot of it is going to depend on what edition they prefer to play or like what game system they prefer. I've done, it's probably like the biggest feather in my cap is early on in my career, it's almost a decade ago at this point. I actually did some stuff for Paizo, so I'm officially in a couple of the Pathfinder supplement books.
Cool.
Anyone who owns either Blood of the Moon or Bastards of Galarian, they will find my name in there. Bring them to a con. I'll sign them for you once this is all over.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now, what do you prefer to write? What's you said you've written in every genre, but what's your chosen genre?
The one my easy go-to answer for this one is I have always been a goth kid at heart, and so if you sit up all of my stories and look at them in order, horror has the most of my work total.
Okay. Well, I don't think we've seen any of your horror yet, so
yeah,
I'm hoping you'll send us some.
If you read all the way to the end of Cryer's Knife, you'll see it peeking out between the.
Yes, I could believe that. Cryer's Knife, by the way, guys, is a book that I saw of Neal's before we got marked territory. It's also very good, but we haven't published that one yet, so we'll have to be talking about that. But now, what else have you got on the landing pad beyond Leo's sequel?
Oh, that's a busy one. I run my two blogs, the Literary Mercenary for folks who like writing, and Improved Initiative for people who love gaming stuff. I'm releasing at least one gaming supplement every month for Azukale Games. The one that just came out was a baker's dozen of fantasy vigilantes. So if you wanna have high fantasy Batman in your game, but you don't want to do all the digging to figure out who they are and what's their shtick and all of that, you just buy this, and here's a whole bunch of them for you to choose from.
So you're a busy guy.
Oh yeah, it's I have
flying fingers, Neal Litherland. And now, who do you like to read when you're reading?
Oh, it is probably my biggest shame of it has been very hard for me to actually pick up books because I spend all day with text and then I'm just like, I'm tired. The last thing I did read actually, because we were in quarantine, so I was like, okay, time to read again. I mostly would read audiobooks before that. So I would just go to the library and I would pull down whoever was new or whoever had a cast that I liked. I listened to a lot of Robert B. Parker stories, as anyone who's read Mark Territory will know. But I actually picked up the Elric novels that I had, despite getting to this point in my career and all of the pulp fiction that I read, I had never actually read any of them. And it occurred to me, it's like Moorcock is this big open like hole in my history. So I figured now is a good time to fill that. And I'm having that weird moment where you finally found the origin of so many things you've seen homaged in your favorite genres. And suddenly you're like, you all just ripped this off. I thought you were being creative.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean. Matter of fact, one of the writers you may want to check out, because if you're into Robert Parker, is Glenn Cook. He's got a series. Have you checked those out? Oh, those are great. Those are a lot of fun too.
If memory serves, he's the one who writes what is it? Is it the Black Company?
Black Company is his military sci-fi sort of fantasy.
That's why I first heard.
But then he has a series that is more of it's basically St. Louis in an alternative universe with fairies and goblins and ghouls. Oh my.
Is the main character an ex-Marine?
Pardon?
Is the main character of that series an ex-Marine?
Yes.
All his
main characters are ex-Marines. Yeah, absolutely. But it has that same sort of genre feel.
Oh, yes.
Which is part of the reason I really liked Mark Territory, because it has that kind of echoing. And yes, you can definitely see the Robert Parker in there very clearly. Absolutely. And now, what areas have you not written in that you want to write in?
Ooh, there is a thing where I've been having this battle with myself on it, ironically enough, is I'd love to combine novels with RPGs, because it was
Mhm.
a tradition for years of like really really well received games would have novel tie-ins. So even if you're not a player of the game, you could read the books and fall in love with the world, and it would entice you to get more involved in the hobby. But
Mhm.
over the years, I've noticed those books have gotten fewer and further between. I don't know if they
Mm.
just didn't make enough money, or it was hard to secure the talent, or what it was. But there are several popular games out there that have a oh, there's a word for it. I want to say it's a community use platform, something like that.
Mhm.
It lets you use their IP and they get a cut of all the sales. And as long as you follow the rules, you can do stuff in their settings. And Onyx Path, known to most people as White Wolf, is one of the companies who has these. And
Uh-huh.
there are several lines they have where it's like, yeah, you can write novels for our world if you want to. And I'm like, no, brain, we don't have time right now to write an entire Vampire versus Werewolf series. I don't even
Well, I
know
was
if
going to
anyone
say,
would read it.
well, hey, we know that our readers will read your work, so just keep writing
Yes.
for us, okay? I'm just saying there, just saying. Well, now, are there any questions that I should have asked you that I haven't, that you'd like readers to know about you?
Ooh, hmm. Not me specifically, really.
Okay.
Something I will say is I've had people come up to me and they've always told me it's like, wow, I didn't think you'd be this friendly, and I occasionally forget that, like, people who don't know me see a dude with really long hair, a Thor's hammer, and combat boots, who is usually annoyed by something in the middle of the day. And so if you find me at a con, it's okay. I'm not mad at anyone. Just come up and talk to me.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I found you to be very friendly, so I'd be quite surprised if anybody found you unfriendly. I would say definitely approach you and say hi at a con.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's pretty much it for now. And I'm so glad that we've got you on our roster of the Ring of Fire Press writers. And I'm
yeah.
looking forward to seeing more of your work, because I know our readers have really enjoyed your work so far. And I'm
Well,
sure it's only going to get better.
that's the hope.
Well, you take care and have a wonderful rest of your week. And since we're here at Halloween, have a great Samhain.
I will do so. You guys too.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye bye, Neal.